Story, ask for crazy
And then you
stories.
said feminism is a cancer.
Yeah.
Care to elaborate at all? Or?
Yeah, I think that it is. I think one of the main reasons even you are so cynical about divorce, which is, I mean, not divorce, marriage, which, you know what, I'm not saying it's invalid by any means, is because of what feminism has turned society into.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Absolutely right.
I'm just saying it's made women extremely self-serving, and it's not that women shouldn't care about themselves, but come on, we went polar like the opposite direction, and I think we started blaming men for every single issue and problem in the world, and a lot of men have started bowing the knee to that, and that's just empowered these women more, because if these men didn't allow women to continue with this narrative, that they said enough, it would be over. But so many of these men are just, they wanted to sleep with these chicks or something.
Oof, that's a very gynocentric
No,
take
it's not.
of you.
No, I'm not blaming
you
men.
You immediately moved over to what about the men, though? Right away. You started strong with the feminism is at fault and there's some female accountability. You moved right to what about the men, though?
No, I do have to ask you, though. I do have to ask you. Do you believe that men allow women to do men run things, ultimately? Is there a patriarchy? Do you believe that?
Yeah, I think that ultimately, due to force doctrine, things will reduce down to a patriarchy. But men operate within a hierarchy, and that's a portion of the problem that women don't seem to understand because they don't operate in one.
Right.
So when women make the counter argument, no, this is really the patriarchy's fault, which is a feminist argument that you're currently making.
No, actually, you're wrong. Actually, I'm all for the patriarchy.
I'm sorry. It's not the patriarchy's fault?
No.
So it's not men's fault that they're enabling women to do this?
No. I just think ultimately, though, men are the ones in power, and that to me, that's a good thing. I'm all for the patriarchy.
But men are ultimately in power, which means whose fault is it?
Oh, it's not about fault. I just think that men.
No. Answer my question.
I think that men should stand up to women. I just think they should.
I'm not going to let you evade, right? You're going to have to answer the question. If men, I'm just looking for a logical extension here.
Okay.
If men are ultimately the ones who are in power,
correct,
then whose fault would this be?
I think that it's still the women's decision to do those things that are wrong. Yeah, I think it's the woman's fault. But I think that men ultimately, because I believe men are more powerful than women, because I'm not delusional, I think that if they put a stop to it, it could stop.
Then if they have the power to stop it and they're not stopping it, but they could stop it,
I think it's
then
to
whose fault
appease
is
women.
it?
I think it's just to appease women, honestly, because women make a lot of noise.
So then that would be men's fault again.
No, actually, it's not about fault. That's not what I'm saying. Not even.
But how would it not be? Like, look, I'm listening to your logic here, right?
Right.
So we're going to start with A, okay? Men are appeasing women, and they don't have to. But they have ultimate force to stop appeasing women, and they're not, and they're at the top of the hierarchy. So then whose fault are you saying it is?
I still think it's the woman's fault, but I think it's because men...
How do you square that with these arguments? I don't understand
Let me explain.
Okay,
I think that men are not all cruel and brutal like women say they are. A lot of feminists say they are. I think that they have soft hearts, and I think they do allow women to have a lot of rights and power and control. But I think even you would agree that ultimately, if men wanted to, they could put a stop to everything. Men are the ones that allow women to have rights. It's them. We know that.
So
well,
disagree.
Hang on. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Right.
Then ultimately, whose fault would that be?
I still think it's the woman's
fault.
Yeah, I don't.
Women are stubborn.
I'm trying to square this.
I know. I get what you're saying.
Ultimately, men have the power to put a stop to all of it, but they don't.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. I have the power to stop some fucking heinous action, right? And I don't do it. But I have the power to. I could do it, but I don't do it. Then whose fault is that?
I lost you.
This is not a black and white thing. That's the thing. It's not.
It sounds pretty black and white.
No, it's not. It's not ultimately. It's a fault. It's because men and women, human beings, they are not perfect. Men are not always going to make ultimately perfect judgment calls. They do it because they do care about women. Men are good to women. They give us rights. However, I'm just saying that women are running with these. a lot of these rights, and they're going a bit crazy, and it's ruining our society in many ways. I do think that men, because I believe men are stronger than women, and men do ultimately hold the control, which I think you couldn't even argue with. I think that if they really wanted to, they could put a stop to it. It would just be very painful.
No, you're wrong on many levels here. Let me explain how.
Okay, I'm interested. Let's hear it.
And it's because you forget about the hierarchy. You forget about a hierarchy. So again, this is because you don't operate inside of one. There are very few bad actors, mostly rich industrialists, which empowered feminism. Okay, and still do to this day, by the way. The same actual families empower feminism. Same types of rich industrialists throughout about 125 years have really pushed this agenda. Okay, but inside of this hierarchy, most of the men are actually disenfranchised from doing much about it, short of some type of extreme, well, I can't even get into what it would take on YouTube, but it would be extreme to do something about this, okay?
Fair.
It would be an extreme response to do anything about it because you still are operating inside this hierarchical structure. Women don't operate in hierarchical structures. They only compete with each other. That's it. There's no hierarchy. There never has been a hierarchy. There's never going to be a hierarchy.
Okay.
There's no hierarchy that women have. They only compete with men, usually for the men at the top of these hierarchies. So it is true that ultimately this teeny tiny group of men may have some power here, okay? And they may have some authority where they're working with, various women in order to do this. Mm-hmm. The disenfranchised men, or the men who are at the bottom of this hierarchy, they would have to control it only through an extreme means. And so when I say that all powers reduce, right? Or all powers reduced to physical force. Ultimately, it is, okay? But it's not the responsibility of men who are born into a disenfranchised position to halt female narcissism.
No,
you know what I mean?
No. Yeah, I think
that wouldn't be their responsibility to do.
That's a good way to put it. I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. It would have to be absolutely extreme measures, and should that be put on the man's shoulder? No. I think that I'm just speaking passionately, but it's not specifically that I think, and I actually do not think it's the men's fault. Extreme action would have extreme consequences, and it would be a disaster.
Dire.
Right.
It would be dire.
It would be dire. I just think it would help in day to day. Like even him saying, I'm not getting married, it's not worth it. Even vocalizing that, even though I disagree that that's the best outcome for a man's life, is going to help that movement of not bowing the knee to the woman. So I'm just saying that to me is a
then it sounds like he has every incentive in the world not to get married.
Correct. I still think he ought to, though.
Yeah, but you have to. Okay, so we got to get into this a little bit more.
Sure.
Ought, the supposition of ought, meaning this is something you should do. You should do it. Okay, Brian's not a Christian, so from a secular perspective, actually tell me why. Yeah, I'm going to get him there, but actually tell me why he, as a secularist man, you're sitting across from him. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in any of that hoodoo, voodoo, witchcraft, right? And you have to make a secular argument to him from a secular perspective, from a non-believer's perspective. Why should he do it?
Yeah, it's the same exact thing I said earlier. It's just the matter of the ceremony of the commitment, and not everyone would agree with that, and that's secular. That's something that would appeal to the secular, not just the religious. But
how would that appeal to a secularist?
Well, to make a commitment.
Okay, so let's say a secularist goes out and he goes, they put on little hula skirts, right? And they dance naked in the moonlight, and that's their commitment to each other.
Okay.
Is that just as valid to you as like a Christian marriage is?
You know, I think that it is a bit complicated. You know, I get what you're saying. I think to those who are not married, they just wouldn't quite get it, but you're married. I think you do get it. It's just
no. Listen, I don't get it. I'm trying to understand it. Okay. Right. So I am married, but I have this great, wonderful enforcement mechanism called God. Right? Called God and my faith, and I have a church which governs portions of my marriage, and these things are necessary inside of the confines of marriage. You have to have community also as a support for marriage. That's one of the big things missing in society, which only church can bring. Okay, but Brian over there, I'm assuming, so in my brain I go like this. I think to myself, this guy, and it doesn't even have to be Brian specifically, but any guy I'm talking to, he's like, Andrew, I like you. You're a smart guy, blah, 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 blah. But I don't believe in this God shit. I just don't believe in it. I hate it. I think it's bullshit. I think it's nonsense. Tell me why I should get married. I can't come up with a single reason.
I can.
Okay.
In modernity, give me a single reason which is valid. I want to hear it so bad.
I'm ready.
I am certain that when Brian is truly, truly in love, and he knows that he met a super special woman who makes his life better and who just brings the best in him and brings the peace, and she wants marriage, he will do that for her in order to stabilize their relationship.
Okay, hang on. If she's giving him all of that shit before he marries her, then why the fuck would he marry her? No, hang on.
He
Listen,
needs a good
don't
Christian
talk before
girl
I finish. Hang
who
on.
is not
I just listened to everything. Stop. I
Thank you,
listen to
Tucker.
everything you say, but you cut me off before I finish my point,
Go
right?
ahead.
So I'm going to ask you directly. Listen to what I'm saying before you respond. If you're giving the man all of that stuff, right? All the adoration, all the love, bringing peace in his life, and you think he's great, you think he's wonderful, and you throw roses at his feet, you make him fucking bacon and eggs every morning while you're giving him a back massage. You're that talented. And you're like, honey, but I'd really like you to marry me. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. And you keep on doing that shit. Why the fuck would he marry you? Can you explain that to me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it will be actually a progression. When person receives love and care and unconditional love, it is at first very it's kind of foreign at the beginning, but then the person becomes addicted to that, and they want more and more and more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so when the woman is consistent, and she actually believes that her man, who may be not exactly 100% yet, but she believes in him and helping him grow, and most importantly, helps both of them grow together.
Sure.
Then
I'm granting all of
absolutely,
this.
at some point, and she is, I agree with you, and she is Christian woman. So yeah, she gives everything.
No.
She
There's
gives
no Christianity
everything.
involved. You smuggled in the Christianity. These are secular.
Okay, she has
standards.
Hang on. He's with a woman who's not Christian.
Okay, she
and she's
does
doing
have
all of these
standards, and
things.
she's high-value woman. Okay, so
Sure.
she gives 100% of herself,
Yep.
and she invests herself in him, and they grow together, and they go through challenges together, supporting each other. Eventually, and I've seen it happening with my clients, okay? I've seen it happening with so many guys. The man who really didn't feel love and unconditional love for a long time. They just shutting themselves down. The woman comes into their life who is filled up with love and care, and she is connected with him 100%.
Sure.
Those men go through transition. And yes, at some point, they do see her as someone who is super, super special. And I have experienced that with many of my clients.
That has nothing to do. Okay, listen, I'm going to just grant all of this. You're right. So let's go through the stages, right? They're going through the stage. Hang on. Yeah. They're going through the stages.
Yep.
She sees him, and he sees her as super duper ultra special. They're the most ultra specialist people who could ever be ultra special to each other. No two people have ever had this kind of interpersonal connection. Why the fuck does he need to marry her? I don't like. Can you explain that part? How we get from that to the marriage
because
part?
He wouldn't.
Why would he actually need to do that to have all of that shit?
Because he wouldn't want that person to give love to someone else. He
Yeah,
would
but that
want
person.
to see that
Wait,
for
it's
himself.
baked into your
but
hypothetical
because she
here.
wants that. So the
What? It's baked in your hypotheticals that she's already got the
It is
bestest
proven by practice.
Already got the best connection ever. He doesn't have to worry about her giving affection to anybody else. So why the fuck would he marry her?
well, if he did not make a commitment to that person fully through the point of marriage, then and this is something that she wants.
Then she would leave, right?
Yeah.
So it's emotional hostage taking.
It is what?
You each
emotional hostage taking. So what you're saying is this. What you're saying is this. Hey, look. Hang on. Listen. Here's what you're actually saying. Listen to what I'm saying. I love you more than life itself. You're the best thing on earth. I love and adore you, and I'll love and adore you till the day that I die. You need to marry me. And he's like, no, I'm still going to treat you like you're my wife, but I'm not actually going to get married to you, and I love and adore you too. And she goes, well, if you're not going to marry me, then I'm going to fucking leave. Well, then it doesn't sound like she really loved him and thought he was the greatest and thought he was the best. It sounds like maybe she didn't really think that.
You each get, hold on. You each get 20 seconds. Go ahead.
So you're talking about manipulation.
Final point from
You're talking about manipulation and idolizing someone. I'm talking about purity and kindness of the heart. That's all. Okay?
I get it. Okay, but when I'm talking, it still makes no sense. Because if she had all this adoration, loved him, thought he was the greatest ever, and performed as though she did, and he said he wouldn't marry her, right? And she says, well, then I'm leaving. That's a shit test. That's the opposite of all of those qualities you're talking about. That's why I think that absent God and absent Christianity, there can be no true marriage. It's just cope. It's pure cope.
I got to move it on. Okay, right. Maddie, read this.
A woman gave me an ultimatum after 4 months that I needed to marry her. I had no problem dumping her. My next relationship was 4 years. This woman is ultimate Delulu boomer mindset.
Okay. There's going to be 3 more coming in.
I have hard time trusting women because I've been lied to so many times. I gave them everything. I did everything and no appreciation. How can I trust them again?
Trust, but verify.
Wow.
It says, how can I trust them again?
So sad.
You don't. Sorry, dude.